The Carolina Hurricanes are back in action, this time taking on their first of three straight divisional opponents with the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. We'll be previewing that game and what the Hurricanes need to do to win in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Monday morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening. Thank you very much. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes, they got off to a rough start this year, but they seem to have found their groove, getting back-to-back wins against the Kraken and Sharks. And yeah, this is going to be big for them because they're going into three straight divisional games, like I mentioned at the top of the episode in the intro, with tonight it being against the Philadelphia Flyers. Then they have the Rangers next, then the Islanders. And like I said, they're coming off of a really good win. It was a 3-0 shutout win over the San Jose Sharks over the weekend. And Teuvo Teravainen had the third hat trick of his career, with Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis getting assists on two of those goals. Obviously, Antti Raanta got a shutout, his 20th career shutout as well. So that was awesome for him. And I believe he also made 20 saves in that game too. So just even better for him there. Andrei Svechnikov also returned in that game. He is getting eased back into the lineup. So tonight, really don't expect a whole lot from Svech. We'll talk more about lineup stuff a bit later in the episode, but it's looking like there's not going to be any changes. So you can expect him to pretty much stay down on the fourth line, which I think is fine. I don't want him to take too big of a workload starting out and then re-injure himself. That would not be ideal. So I just want him to take as long as he needs to get back to where he needs to be. I think that's going to be the best thing for him. Brett Pesce obviously still out. I believe we're a week into his 2 to 4 weeks of being out. So we still got a while for him to go. And, I think tonight, like I said, it's going to be important because they really got to set the tone for the division and let the other teams know that, hey, this is still the Hurricanes division. Yeah, they got off to a rough start. Their first 9 games were against non-divisional opponents, and they didn't look great. And we'll get more into that in a bit. But this is the first of 4 games against Philly. Last year, they swept that series. And right now they're sitting at a 5-4-0 record, 10 points, I believe third in the Metro Division right now. And the Hurricanes, they have what it takes. They're getting better. They have started to stay out of the box, and they haven't been getting too loose. That was something that we saw a lot in those early games. They were taking a lot of penalties. They were playing really loose hockey. They weren't showing up for the full 60 minutes, but they are getting back on the right track, which is going to be important. Through the first 2 weeks or 15 days, they were first in the NHL in penalties taken. And over the last 2 games, they've only taken 3. So they are getting back on the right track. They are getting back to the Hurricanes that we know and love. And their penalty killing, that's getting back where it needs to be as well. So they're on the right track. And so the world's it's not ending or anything like that. So, they're getting where they need to be. But it's still, this is their 10th game of the season. So I'm not ready to hang a banner just yet either. There's still a lot of hockey left to play this season. But like I said, they are on the right track of what they need to work on. And like I said, defense, that's going to be key in this game. Philly, they are a lot better than folks expected this year. And the Hurricanes are really going to have to be on their A game. And guys, I'm looking at tonight. Obviously, the defensive group. Really looking at them because defense has not been the Hurricanes' best this season so far. So, obviously, I'm looking at them. Looking at Slavin, Burns, Orlov, Shea, D'Angelo, Chatfield. I'm looking at those guys like they need to be where they need to be, and we need them to be playing at the level we know they are capable of. It is obviously still early in the season. There's still going to be things that are getting worked out, not just for the Hurricanes. It's for every team. They're still, finding out that, okay, this is an area we're going to need to work on going forward. You don't have the first game, Russ, but now that you've played a few games, you are starting to get a better idea of what you're going to need to work on. And the Hurricanes, they're getting that feedback, now. They've really got to tighten up defensively, or not just defensively, just their game all around. That, like I said, they have been playing pretty loose through those first 9 games, but they are getting on that right track, which is really important. And as I mentioned, they're staying out of the penalty box. That's going to have to be another thing tonight. They got to stay out of the penalty box. But again, guys I'm looking at tonight, again, I mentioned pretty much all of the defensemen I'm looking at with them. And then, in terms of offense, I'm still looking at Teuvo Teravainen. He's coming off a hat trick game. He leads the team in goals with 7 as of right now. He's already tied his total from last year. Okay. I want to see this guy continue to be, an offensive, not juggernaut, because we know that's not him, but he's got it going this season. And I want to see that continue for him. Whether it's, scoring goals, which, isn't necessarily his cup of tea, he's doing it. And I want to see him continue to do that. And, even if he's not doing that, be the Teuvo we know and, set up, other guys. We know how good his playmaking ability is. I want to see that too. Sebastian Aho, he passed Rod Brind'amour in that last game against San Jose for 4th place on the Hurricanes all-time franchise points leaders. So, let's see him, continue to add to that. We know what he's capable of. And in the past, he's had slow starts to the season. Not as much as of late, but let's see him continue to develop, continue to grow, not get off to such slow starts. Again, hasn't really been the case the past couple years, but he is, he's the franchise player. I want to pretty much every game you're going to be looking at him and, wanting him to go out there and, do his thing. Martin Necas, another guy, obviously looking at him. He had career year last year in that game against Seattle on the 26th. He had a 3-point night, 2 goals and an assist. We know he's capable of it. He's continuing to develop and be a great player for the Hurricanes. So I'm looking at that. And, as I mentioned, these 3 offensive guys, obviously you want the other guys to do it as well. Like Kotkaniemi, Jarvis, those guys. Obviously, you're looking at those as well. But I think, those 3 guys there, they've been rolling. And we're going to need them to continue to keep rolling because, like I said, Philly, they're better than folks expected this year. And we'll dive into just why that is, as well as keys to getting the win for the Hurricanes right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, I mentioned it at the top of the episode, but Game Time is something that you are really going to want to check out. Game Time is, of course, the place where you can get last minute tickets for the best price. I have used Game Time myself, and Game Time lets you see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You're not getting, a pole in your way or some sort of obstructed view. You're not getting that. You know what you're getting, and all-in prices show you your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal without a whole bunch of extra hidden fees. We've all dealt with that before, and it's never fun. And you can buy the tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find last-minute seats, because we've all been there. You think you're not going to be able to go to something, whether it be a concert, a game, or whatever, then all of a sudden you're able to go, and you want to go. Game Time has you covered there. With find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And with zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And again, Game Time, I've used it before. Me and a friend of mine, we went to AEW Collision a few months back when they were in Greensboro, North Carolina. I used Game Time to get our seats, and it was a breeze. It was super easy. Got to see the view from where we're going to be sitting. Had a perfect view of the ring, the ramp, all of that. It was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. And I'm fixing to take a vacation from my other job, so I'll probably be looking on Game Time to see what's going on around me here soon. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, getting back into the Hurricanes game, as I said, Philly, they've been better than folks have expected. Yeah, they're 4th in the Metro Division right now. They're coming off a loss, I believe, to Anaheim, but they're better than folks expected. And much like the Hurricanes, they're not allowing a whole lot of shots. They're averaging about 27.5 shots allowed so far this season. And the Hurricanes are really going to have to set the tone early in this game, because Philly, they know what the Hurricanes are capable of. They play them 4 times a year, and they got swept last season by them. So they're gonna have a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and they're gonna be looking to send a message. Hurricanes are still the top dog in the division. Even if standings right now aren't really saying that, they're still a heavyweight of the division. So Philly's going to be looking to send a message like, hey, we're better than you guys expected us to be. And Carter Hart right now, he's has a .924 save percentage through his first 6 games. So he's been on it as of late either. And the Hurricanes, they're going to have to, like I said, set the tone early. They have got to play a full 60 minutes tonight. That is, absolutely must, because, like I said, Philly, they're going to want to send a message tonight, and they're playing in Philly as well. So they're really going to be wanting to send a message to the Hurricanes and the rest of the Metro Division as a whole, being like, hey, we're legit. We're going to be here to play. We're going to be vying for a playoff spot. That's kind of probably what they're thinking right now. We'll see how that goes as the season progresses, of course. But the Hurricanes have got to set the tone early. They've got to create pressure down in the Flyers, and they've got to get pucks on the net. And, with that, I've said it many times in the past, they cannot just shoot to shoot. The logo on the goalie's jersey is not a target. They need to be shooting to score. They need to be wise with their shot selection. That's going to be important because, like I said, we've seen it many times in the past where they'll put up like 40, 50 shots on goal and they get 1 goal, 2 goals, and lose. They double, the shots of the other team and still lose. Heck, we saw that the other day as well. I forget who it was against, but we're used to seeing that, and that that can't be the case tonight, and really at all. I mean, I know stinker games are going to happen. We all know that. But they've got to set the tone early. They've got to play that full 60 minutes. As I said, a couple keys, earlier. Defense is going to be key here because, Philly's been playing really good defense and limiting, what the opposing teams are able to do. So the Hurricanes, they got to be able to match that, and not even match it. They got to surpass, what Philly's doing, because we know what the Hurricanes defense is capable of. Yes, we don't have Brett Pesce right now, and that sucks. And we know that D'Angelo is not good defensively, and we know Orlov has been struggling getting used to the Hurricanes' way of doing things. So that's going to be interesting. So, Slavin, Burns, Shea, Chatfield, those are going to be guys that are having to maybe pull bit bigger loads than what they normally would. So they're going to have to be on their A game tonight. Orlov and D'Angelo, they're going to have to really be on it. And D'Angelo especially, just not be a freaking liability, not be a traffic cone out there, because his first game back in Philly since leaving. So, and things weren't great there last year. So, they're probably going to go after him. He's going to get booed out of the building by the opposing fans, but they're probably going to be looking at him because they're going to know that they can exploit his defensive shortcomings. So he's got to be ready for that. And the rest of the Hurricanes got to be ready for that as well, because again, he's not good defensively. So they got to be ready for, when he gets, beat by an opposing player, whoever it may be, they got to be ready, to not let them score a goal, plain and simple, because we've seen that before. He gets beat, other team goes down there and scores. We've seen that before. We can't let that happen tonight, because that is definitely going to be something that Philly is looking to do tonight. And then, as I said earlier, don't get too loose. They got to play tight. They got to play clean. That's going to be another thing. Don't take a whole bunch of penalties. Like I said, the first, little over 2 weeks, they were leading the NHL in penalties. They've gotten that under control now. So we're going to have to keep it that way. I know in the last game against San Jose, Svech laid a big hit on someone. It was a clean hit. It wasn't bad or anything. He got called. So they're going to have to be on the lookout for that stuff. Don't do anything that could get called, even if it was, clean or whatever. They got to play smart hockey as well. That's going to be important. So, if they can do that stuff, I think they'll be all right tonight. I do. And as I mentioned, the guys I'm looking at, pretty much the entirety of the defensemen, Aho, Natchez, Teravainen, those are the 3 guys, especially I'm looking at, but I'm also looking at, Kotkaniemi, Jarvis. Obviously, we're all going to be watching Svech tonight, but again, like I said earlier, don't really expect much out of him. And, because like I said earlier, from practice this morning, doesn't look like there's going to be any lineup changes, but we will still go through it. So he's still probably going to be slotting in on that 4th line, just getting eased back into lineup, which is completely fine with me. But if they're able to do all of that stuff that I mentioned, then I think they'll be all right tonight. I think they'll be able to come with a win. And I've said it for years now that I've been, running this show. Metro teams, it does not matter where you're at in the standing, whether you're first place, last place, in the middle. Metro teams are always going to play each other tougher. And that is going to be the case for the next 3 games for the Hurricanes. Tonight against Philly, then against the Rangers, then against the Islanders. Metro teams always play each other a bit tougher. It really doesn't matter where they're at in the standings, because anything can happen So the Hurricanes got to be ready for that. We know they're going to be ready for that, hopefully. But we will dive into the Hurricanes lineup right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, it is that time of the year. And so score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. And of course, hockey season has started as well. World Series is going on. NBA season, it just got underway as well. So there's plenty there for you. So visit fanduel.com/locked on and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Now, the lineup for the Hurricanes tonight, as I said, doesn't look like there's going to be any changes from the Hurricanes' previous game against San Jose, which is completely fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Which again, I'm completely fine with this. So we'll see. And actually, I misspoke. No, I didn't misspoke earlier. Well, for a second, I thought I misspoke about Aho. Passing Rod Brind'amour for 4th for a second. Yeah, as I was scrolling to get the lineup, I definitely thought it looked like he was in 3rd place for a bit there. I'm like, wait a second, that's not right. But again, the lineup tonight, I think, is going to be about the best it could be. And with the one change being that of Frederik Andersen being in the starter's crease at practice, which again is totally fine. They've been rotating, Ronta and Anderson, the past few years. So you expect that, really. And I'm totally fine with that. I think that's probably the smart move to make, is to start Anderson tonight as well. Give Ronta a little bit of a break. And then, we'll see how things go. But the lineup tonight is looking to be, again, the same as last game. On the first line, Teravainen, Aho, Jarvis, then Bunting, Kokiniemi, Necas, Martinook, Stahl, Foss, Svechnikov, Drury, and Nason there on the 4th. It will be interesting to see how things shake out whenever Svechnikov gets back to his normal self, where things end up shaking up. That'll be interesting to see, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. I think we're going to be, it's going to be a little bit before, we see him, getting back into his normal spot, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then on defense, as I said, you got Slavin Burns, Shea D'Angelo, Orlov, and Chatfield. Those guys, they're going to have to be, on their A game tonight, because that Philly will be on theirs. Like I said, they're going to be looking to send a message to the Hurricanes tonight. And, if they're able to do, everything that I mentioned tonight, your defensive guys, show up and you have, your top offensive guys as well. And then you had those depth guys there as well. Anderson, if he's, Frederik Andersen, if he's playing to his normal standards, then the Hurricanes are going to be fine tonight. But they are really going to have a lot of work cut out for them when they get down in the Flyer zone and are trying to, create some shots and get pucks past Carter Hart. That's going to be tough for the Hurricanes tonight. So I really wouldn't expect a very high scoring game or anything like that, just because of how good Philly has been, defensively and in between the pipes. And then the Hurricanes getting back in the groove of their things and how they do things. So, don't expect a high scoring game tonight. Don't expect the Hurricanes or Flyers to put up like 5, 6, 7 goals or anything like that a piece. I wouldn't expect that, but we'll see how things end up shaking out tonight, because with these Metro matchups, who knows how they could end up shaking out, because we've said this before, and then goals galore. So, but I think it is safe. Don't expect a high scoring game. Expect a physical game. I definitely will say that. Expect a physical, low scoring game. Essentially a goaltender's duel. That's kind of what you're going to be expecting tonight. And I think that it's going to be an entertaining game for the simple fact of, Andrei Svechnikov is back. Everyone's going to be happy. Svech is back. We'll see how things go for him. Again, I don't expect much, and you shouldn't either. When it comes to what he's doing out there right now, let's ease him in. Let's not expect him to carry the team or anything like that. Don't expect him to be in Tavo's shoes from the last game of having a hat trick or anything. I mean, if it happens, it happens. I don't think any of us are going to complain, but don't expect that. Just expect him, just ease back in. Maybe you see him move up a little bit, as the game goes on. We know how Brind'amour gets fluid with his lines during games. Maybe he changes things up a little bit for Svech, gives him a little bit more time. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. We're not in those meetings when it comes to health and his knee and all that stuff. We're not in those conversations. So he's good enough to play, and let's not rush things. I think that's best. But it's going to be a fun game tonight, folks. So make sure you are having fun wherever you're watching, whether you're at home, out with friends, family, or if you're up in Philly, just have fun with it. And make sure you're following the show along at LO_Hurricanes and myself at Jared Ellis _96. Subscribe on YouTube as well, folks. And as always, let's go Canes.